This is Scott Spears, and today we're joined by a legend in the world of exotic dance and burlesque. Possibly, what is most enduring about her is that her career has spanned more than 60 years, and at age 86, she still performs occasionally. I am so happy to be joined by Tempest Storm. Tempest, how are you?
I'm fine, Scott. How are you?
Doing well. So glad to be able to talk to you. I hope everything is going well for you out there in Las Vegas.
Yes, so far so good.
That's good to hear. I tell you, Tempest, I wanted to start out the interview by talking about your childhood. What was your growing up like?
Oh, wow, that would take about a week. Well, I didn't have a very good childhood. I had a stepfather that was very mean to me, and I left home when I was about 14 and worked as a waitress and, on my way up to trying to get to California. I wanted to be a movie star. A young girl's dreams, I guess. Anyway, I got to California. I worked in Macon, Georgia as a waitress, and then I worked in California. When I got to California, I worked as a car hop at a Simon's Drive-In. And from there, I met someone that knew Lillian Hunt at the Follies Theater in Los Angeles. They were getting rid of all the professional girls and hiring all young girls. And through this person, I met Lillian Hunt. And she hired me to work in the chorus line. But I guess I'm ahead of myself. You want to know more about my childhood. But as I said, my stepfather was very mean, and about five guys pulled me into a car off the street when I was downtown shopping. It was in the daytime, and they took me up in the hills and raped me one by one. And then my stepfather, I woke up one night and he was on top of me. And then his brother, and I said to myself, there's got to be a better life. So I left home, and I worked my way out to California, and I got a job with Lillian Hunt, and she hired me. And I got a little publicity with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis at a function, and then I was on my way. And she sent me up to the El Rey Theater as a headliner. This was in the 50s. And from there on, and I got a lot of publicity. I worked all back in the East, and I worked a small nightclub here in Vegas, 1951, called the Embassy. And it was a nice little club in North Las Vegas, and I saw this city grow up. I think there was only about 3 hotels, 2 hotels when I did that job out of this Embassy. And from there, I went on the road with the burlesque different theaters. We had a circuit they called Brian and Ingalls Circuit, and it was 1 week here and 1 week there in different cities. So I got what I was, like I said, I was trying to get away from my family. There must be a better life. So that's about my family.
Tempest,
I'm not very close with them.
Where was your mother in that childhood?
She was there, but she was mean to me. One time, she sent me up to a neighbor's house to get something, and I had a little a girlfriend, a schoolmate that I was friends with, the only one, and I stayed a little bit longer than I was supposed to, and I came back home, and my mother had a stick, and she beat me on my arms and my back with this horrible stick. So she wasn't too kind to me either.
An abusive mother, being raped so young, having a terrible stepfather, what impact do you think that had on your life?
Well, I think it had a lot of impact, because I had sense enough there must be a way out of this. So that's why I worked in these different places trying to get away from it. And I said to myself, there has to be a better life. And that's what I found with, finally getting to California. and working my way there. And there were many times I didn't have food, but I said, I'd be damned if I go back home. I'm going to make it. So when I got the job at the Follies Theater, I said, well, I'm not going to be a splash in the pan. I'm going to be a star, or I'm getting out of the business and doing something else. But I worked at it, rehearsed, took ballet lessons, and got up early in the morning to get dressed, made up, to do photo shoots for magazines, newspapers, and thank God I made it. With I always said, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. That was Clinton's inaugural song. And I've had that in my mind from the time, there must be another way. So that is my motto to this day. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow, because things can be better.
Tempest, I used a title to introduce you in the beginning that I don't think a lot of people know now, and that's the word burlesque. What does burlesque mean to you?
Well, number one, I thought, well, if I'm going into this business, I want to be a class act. And that's what I strived for. And since I can't even talk today. And what it means to me, what it means to me is I believe, and I'm sure that I made a great impression on the burlesque field, because I had production numbers, fabulous costumes, and different places that I worked. They always, put my bill sets for me, production numbers, and what burlesque means to me, it gave me a livelihood. Number one. But I said, well, I'm going to be a class act, and I strive for that day after day, day after day. And nowadays, I think the young girls, I'm a great inspiration to them. And I'm very, very happy that they think of me that way.
Absolutely.
And I've gained great respect in this business. Never drank, never did drugs, never smoked. So, and I was around all the show people that did that. Big actors and actresses.
Tempest, when people say, because I've also seen you referred to as a stripper, but I know we've also got exotic dancer and we have burlesque. What's the difference?
What's the difference in burlesque and stripper?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's hard. I think they both actually mean the same, but I think it's the way you conduct yourself when you get into burlesque, and with the costumes and production numbers, and do a class act.
More show to it.
Pardon?
More show to it.
What more?
Is there more show to it, is what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, there is more show to it. That's when burlesque was in his heyday.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Tempest, tell me about the first time you got up to do this act, where you took some clothing off in front of people. What was that like? I think most people would be very intimidated.
Well, I was always sort of bashful type of girl. And Lillian Hunt, she gave me a 5-minute number to do, and she said, no matter what happens on stage, just keep going. So when the curtain opened, they had a machine backstage, so I made my own costume, which was a purple 2-piece satin gown with a lot of sequins on it, and all trimming and everything, trying to make the costume classy. And so the first time the minute the curtain opened and I walk out, the skirt to the costume fell off. And she said, no matter what happens, keep going. So I threw the costumes into the wings at her, and she caught it, and I just kept going and did the number. And believe me, when the people started applauding, I was really embarrassed. And when I had to take off the top, I was embarrassed. I said to myself, I wonder if I can keep doing this, or should I look for another way of making a living? But I made up my mind. I thought it over and over, and I made up my mind. I said, I'm going to make it in this business, or I'm getting out.
Why did you decide to stick with it instead of getting out?
Well, it was very, money-wise, it was great because I hit the top money is so fast, and I'd never seen that type of money before. I could have, probably gotten out of the business, been a waitress or sales lady in a department store. But I thought I would do this classy, and I would stay in it.
A lot of people do pass judgments on this sort of work, and I'm sure you know that. When people pass that judgment or look down on them, how do you respond to that?
Well, I don't know. That kind of bothered me in the beginning. The word super, and also I thought example. You can take 10 Hollywood starlets, and they can go with 5 different men in one night. She's still a lady. But an exotic dancer can go with one guy, and she's a hooker. That's what people say. I've heard them say it, which is disgusting to me, which is not true.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people do look down on that profession?
Scott, I don't know. I've tried to figure that out for years.
It's an interesting question to pose, I think. But Tempest, I was reading your biography today, and it's very interesting. You did have some relationships with some very famous people over the years, and I think none more famous than Elvis Presley.
Right.
What was he like, and what was that relationship like?
Oh, we had a lot of fun, and he was a real Southern gentleman, and we would have dinner together and talk, and he loved his mother. He was, he didn't want anything to happen to her, which was a shame when she passed away at 42, and he was very into his family. And I met his father one time backstage with one of the hotels where Perry Como was appearing, and I met his father backstage.
Being around all those big names in Hollywood at that time, certainly no name bigger than Elvis that I can think of, but who is another big name that you had a relationship with in those days, or throughout your entire career?
You're picking at me now.
Well, no.
No, I'm kidding. Well, I've walked the line a lot, and I cross the line a lot. So I don't know. It's I'm trying to figure this one out.
Is there a reason you wouldn't want to say the name?
No. Well, I had an affair with President Kennedy.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever said that before?
No.
That's something.
Yeah, we had our wonderful moments. And actually, I met him when he was a senator at first, and I was appearing at a nightclub in Washington, D.C., which had legit stars, and they brought me in. And I met him through his entourage, and that's how I happened. And then I stayed at the Mayflower, which was a big hotel, every time I played Washington. And that's where some of the politicians went. And we would have dinner there, very, very quiet, very, nothing publicity-wise. We had wonderful moments together. And it was very, very, I admired the man. He was a great president. I wish he was around now to straighten the world out.
How long did that relationship go on?
Maybe a couple of years, off and on, when I would play Washington.
So was he president at the time?
Yes, near the end, yeah, when I was still seeing him when he became president.
You know, Tempest, it's interesting. I want to put it this way. For people who might hear that, because you just said you'd never said it before, and they say...
I've said it. Yeah, I've said it before.
Well, they say that couldn't have happened. What would be your answer to that? For people who say, he didn't do that.
Well, I would just have to tell them. It's true that I met the president when he was senator. That's all I can tell you. As a matter of fact, I was on a TV show in Detroit, and I had never talked to anybody that I had met the president. And I was doing a TV show in Detroit, and the interview was going along great, and all of a sudden, the interviewer said to me, "I understand you slept with President Kennedy." And it shocked me. And I said, "Would you ask, what was that question?" I was trying to dodge and trying to figure out an answer. So he kept at me and wouldn't let it go. And so finally he said, "Well, what did you talk about in the bedroom?" And of course me, I said, "It certainly wasn't politics." So I put my foot in it after trying to dodge it. I was trying to be a lady.
It's an interesting time, Tempest. Obviously, we just passed the 50th anniversary.
Well, they did a write-up here on the Norm in the Review Journal, and different people that knew the president. So he did that article on me also.
I just wanted to bring up, I didn't get a chance to read that, but do you think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman?
No.
No. Do you have any inkling who might have done it?
No, I have no idea, but although he had a good shot, straight shot from where he was.
Absolutely. Well, Tempest, I want to move on here. One of the interesting facts about you, I don't know if people know, in the late 1950s, your breasts were insured by Lloyd's of London for $1 million. How does that happen?
Lillian Hunt, who taught me the business, she was also ended up being my manager when I went on the road, and she suggested that. And I said, "What's the idea of having my breast insured?" She said, "Well, number one, you'll get some publicity." And that was about the only thing I figured out, publicity-wise.
Did it generate a lot of publicity at the time?
Yes, it did. Yes.
How long did that go on?
Oh, gosh. I guess until after I left Lillian Hunt. She was my manager, and we had a misunderstanding. And so it was a few years I was at the El Rey Theater in Oakland. That's where I had it done. And I guess maybe 5 years it went on.
Tempest, a lot of this is kind of risky territory, but have you ever been at any point during your career, being with married men, which you said you have done, being on stage, taking clothes off in front of men, have you ever been ashamed at any point?
No, I have never. I've never been ashamed, because I really had a lot of fans. Like when I first started, lot of couples used to come to burlesque, and their wives liked to see burlesque, see the costumes and what the girls looked like. I experienced all that, and then when the hardcore stuff came in, all the women disappeared and only men. But women used to. I remember when I first started, a lot of the Burt Lancaster and his wife used to come down to see the show, and Edward G. Robinson and his wife, a lot of the movie stars. But that was their idea. This is a kind of risque night out. We're going to see the burlesque show.
At age 86, if there was never an ashamed point, do you ever wish you would have done something different?
No, I regret. I regret not getting the education that I wanted, and that I didn't finish high school.
Would you ever go back?
Would I ever go back? As I say, it's never too late.
Why not?
If I had a chance, I probably would.
They say you're right. It's never too late.
No.
Tempest, at age 86, you still are involved in this.
Right.
Most people retire from normal careers at 65, 70. Certainly, most people don't go to 86. Why are you still involved?
I can't identify with my age. I cannot identify because the average, even this average 65-year-old out there, they are all wrinkled and can't walk good. But I cannot identify with this age because I don't think I talk like an 86-year-old. Like, I'm not sure. So, and I just cannot, and I don't feel it. I don't feel 86. I just don't feel 86.
Tell me this, Tempest, 60-year career. When you were doing this in your 30s, what is different about it in your 30s than in your 80s? Something's got to be different.
No, I have the beautiful costumes, and what I do now is I make appearances. I was last year I made an appearance at the Portland, Oregon, at the theater there, Burlesque Festival. In Davenport, Iowa, they did a festival. In Toronto, Canada, and New York, these are festivals, and they hire me as the headliner. But what I do now is wear the risque gowns. I dress very sexy, and I talk to the guys. The minute I hit the stage, they go crazy. And I talk to the audience and ask questions. And they ask questions, and then after the show, I go out and autograph photos and meet my fans. And some of the young girls, they said, "You're a great inspiration to us." And sometimes a couple of girls came up and they said, "Oh my gosh, it's so glad to meet you." And one girl started tears just coming down her face. She was so excited. And so I'm really thankful that I am an inspiration to these young girls who are trying to keep burlesque going.
When you go out on the stage now, Tempest, and you're talking to the audience and you wear the very nice gowns, do the clothes still come off like they used to?
No.
No.
I wear like a see-through stuff, like yards and yards of material over sequin gowns, and I take them off, and they're very happy. I like 4 years ago, I was doing a show here at the Plaza, and I fell and I broke my hip, and and so I haven't really done basically a strip since then because I have such a fear, and I haven't gotten over it. of going on stage and dancing again. But I did it once. I did that song, Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow, and the audience loved that song, and they go crazy, but I did it.
Yeah. Well, and certainly you're free to do what you like, and I think that's the great thing.
Right.
But back then, at 82, 4 years ago, and even in your 70s and 60s, when, and forgive me here, but when people are in their 20s and 30s, and even some into their 40s, the body is different, just physically, than it is at 50, 60, 70, 80. Did you ever worry about it becoming more novelty than about sexuality, or has it always been about sexuality?
It's always been about sexuality.
Did you ever feel as you got older that it was more of a novelty?
No, I just felt it's always been the same. I didn't feel like it was a novelty.
I do want to let the listening audience know that Tempest does have a documentary that's in the process of being finished. You have written a biography that you'd like to get published. A clothing line, all kinds of great things going on.
Yeah.
You still do personal
reality show.
Reality show.
And 2 years ago, I did a recording in Nashville with Jack White, the White Stripes. And they did a photo shoot on me, and I did a recording. It's good to give the young girls some pointers.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And so anybody who wants to know these things can find you on the Internet, can get a hold of you. That's great.
Right.
Tempest, I don't think I've ever asked this question in an interview before, but it just came to me after the conversation we've had. Because I think people, maybe this goes back to our earlier question about why do people look down on stripping or burlesque. Maybe it's because they think you go home with somebody every night. In the course of your career, how many men do you think you've been with intimately?
Oh, my God. I could count them on one hand.
Really?
Yes.
So, less than 5?
Yeah.
But in the course of your life, I mean, we've mentioned two, President Kennedy and Elvis Presley. Over the course, would you say it's more than an average person or just a normal life?
Being with them?
Being with men and different men.
It's a normal life.
Normal life.
Yeah.
No more than an average person.
No more than an average person.
At what keeps the flame still alive in your 80s?
Because basically, I still think I'm in my 30s.
And nothing wrong with that.
I think young. I just cannot identify with that. And the way I dressed, my hair, the red head, and I feel like, it's in the beginning. Maybe I'm starting all over.
Do you ever foresee a day when you would want to just go into private life?
No.
No.
I don't think.
Well, and nothing wrong with that. Tempest, you've had such an interesting life, been with interesting people, a pioneer in your field. 100 years from now, when people look back at your name, how would you like them to remember you?
I would like for them to remember me as a class and sexy act and beautiful performer.
And I do want to let people know again, Tempest Storm looking for a publisher for her autobiography, which would be very good and a very interesting read, I'm sure. Documentary in the process of being done. Reality.
I'd like to get a reality show also.
And if you had a reality show, what is interesting about your life opposed to somebody else's?
The fact that I've been in this business as long as I have and always been respected.
At this point, Tempest, is there any part of it that's financial at this age?
Well, everybody loves money.
Yeah, you're right, and money never hurts. I'm just saying, when we started out, you said one of the reasons you didn't leave was because it paid well. At this age, are you continuing to work because of the money, because of the things?
No, I enjoy the work, but of course the money's important. Right. Because it's tough. You have to go fly to these places, and you have to figure out the costumes and everything. It's not easy.
Let me try it from this angle. If somebody came tomorrow, Tempest, and said, "I'll give you $1 million for the rights to your book," would you stop performing?
Yes, if that were to happen.
So there is some part of it that is financial.
Not basically.
Right.
But who would turn down $1 million?
No, I don't.
Who would turn down $1 million?
You're right. I don't think anybody would.
I don't think so.
Well, I got to tell you, Tempest.
Scott, you're great.
I have to tell you, this has been a lot of fun because it's an interesting topic to discuss. You don't get a chance to discuss it very often, but it's
this is great,
and it's fascinating. And I can't. I want to wish you the best. I hope I would love to read your book, and I hope it is out soon and see the documentary. And I hope that the reality series does happen because I think it'd be interesting. Well, I will say I'm sure we have not heard the last of Tempest Storm, and I hope your life is as good as it has been.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: the man upstairs doesn't want me. And the devil gave up on me a long time ago, so I have no place to go. I have to stay here.
you know, Tempest, that's fascinating. It's a good way to end. Don't
stop thinking about tomorrow. That's why I've stayed in this business. I never stop thinking about tomorrow.
Do you have any? What do you believe happens when you do pass away? Do you have a religious belief?
Yeah, I do. I said, well, on my tombstone, I want I had it written down. I can't think now. Two songs I want that might be in there. Are you lonesome tonight? Don't stop thinking about. Are you lonesome tonight? What's the other? And I did it my way.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tempest.
That's why I've stayed in the business. So I did it my way. I didn't listen to anybody. I did, I worked my brains out, the costumes. I worked with the costumers is always what I wanted. And they didn't override me. They tried to a lot of times. I said, this is the way it is.
Well, my final question is, Tempest, to those girls out there, or guys at this age, who want to do this, what's the best bit of advice you can give to them?
The best advice I can give to concentrate on the way you look, your costumes, production numbers, makeup, make it beautiful and sexy and classy.
Tempest, this has been a wonderful conversation. I hope you come back in the future, and I wish you the best.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. It was great talking with you.
Tempest Storm, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.